I'm Justin Hayek, investment advisor with PI Financial. Join me on a ride with today's top CEOs. Hear the stories of their greatest achievements and failures. Get the inside on their secrets to investing and the latest on their next big deal. This is Car Ride Confessions of a CEO. On this very special episode of Car Ride Confessions of a CEO, I traveled to the Yukon, a territory in northwest Canada, to visit Brandon Macdonald, CEO and director of Fireweed Zinc. The company is quickly advancing its Macmillan Pass project, host to two large zinc-lead-silver deposits known as Tom and Jason. Since launching its IPO in May 2017, Fireweed Zinc has been a shining star in an otherwise dull junior mining market. At one time, its share price quadrupled from its IPO price, an impressive start for this first-time CEO. Brandon, maybe you can start off by giving us the elevator pitch on Fireweed Zinc.
Sure.
And specifically some of the milestones that you guys have achieved and maybe some of the catalysts we can expect over the next year.
Yeah, as a company, we're about a year old now. Had our IPO last year and already hit a bunch of milestones. So we did a good campaign of drilling last year, put out a big new resource in January, and did a PEA that was released in May. And the intriguing thing about our resource was not just like this is big and this is high grade. It's that with Arizona mining being sold for a lot of money to South 32, we're kind of the biggest zinc-lead junior left standing globally, in terms of contained metal. So when you have such a unique project, and when you have not just that resource already, but you feel there's ample opportunity to grow it, you feel like you got something pretty special. And, we're not stuck in a jurisdiction that's hugely problematic. You got a mining-friendly jurisdiction in Yukon territory. So we're really happy to be here, and we think there's great things ahead for the project.
Maybe because you did release the PEA, it's been about a month now. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can talk about some of the headline numbers.
Yeah, so we saw on the back of a $404 million CapEx Canadian, $450 million after-tax NPV, 24% after-tax IRR, mine life of 18 years. So this kind of scratches all the itches you want to see in a big base metal asset. Mm-hmm. Multi-cycle, long mine life. You're going to ride out a couple of the storms in the base metal industry, but then get to ride out and enjoy a couple of the upswings as well. Sure. With that long mine life, you still also have a very healthy north of 20% after-tax IRR. You have that NPV after tax that's higher than your CapEx. You have a payback period that's your mine life is over 4 times your payback period, right? So you've got lots of opportunity to make money once it's paid back. So for people who are really deep into the base metals industry, that's everything you're looking for and then some. So we think this looks really good.
Okay. So is the goal then with the Macmillan Pass project to put into production yourself or to sell it to a major?
Yeah, I guess at the risk of being a little cheesy maybe, the goal is to make money for shareholders. Yeah. Right? So you pick the path that best optimizes that. So
talk a little bit about the history of the project. I guess specifically Tom and Jason. What can you tell people about the history?
Well, they've got a lot of history. So the road we're about to come onto down here, the Canal Road. This was built during the Second World War by the American Army to facilitate a pipeline from Norman Wells, Northwest Territories to Whitehorse. But the road had opened up this whole area here. And so prospectors working for Hud Bay in the early 50s found the Tom deposit originally. And the Tom deposit actually outcrops. So the creek we just drove past here, walking up that creek, you can find these boulders of sulfide in it. And you just follow it up until you get to the talus slope, and you follow that chain of sulfides up until the outcrop.
Let's talk a little bit about the biggest challenge with the project and some of the risks and how you've mitigated them.
Sure. So probably the biggest challenge for this specific project that differentiates us from our peer group is location. We're in a minely friendly jurisdiction. We have road access, but our distance to port is non-trivial, would probably be an understatement. So it's about 800 kilometer drive from where we are right now to get all the way to Skagway. And part and parcel with that is the fact that this road we're driving now, the Canal Road, has seen some maintenance, but hasn't seen any material improvements since it was built in the 40s, right? So it's kind of maintained as a access road for hunting and exploration and outdoor activity, but it's not ready to haul concentrate.
And then so far, I mean, maybe it's a little too early, but have you done anything to mitigate such risks, or?
Yeah, one of the things we're doing is we're doing a pretty deep dive on our transportation study now. If this project was very well situated, I'd argue if this project was very well situated and as old as it was, there would be a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
But hypothetically, if it was very well situated and we were operating it, there wouldn't be a lot of reason to deep dive into your transportation yet at this stage. But for us, we recognize that's a major cost factor and probably a major concern for investors and partners. So that's one of the ways is you really get a handle on your data, right? And the other way you mitigate it is you try to bring the government in to help you improve the road. This is a government road. We've costed the PEA such that the burden of upgrading is 100% on us. But we think there's an opportunity there to get them to help with that.
Talking about people and I guess the value that certain people bring to a company, how valuable is it to have someone like John Robbins and his track record and his network and everything that he brings along with them attached to the company and of course attached to you?
I think it's hugely valuable, right? We've had numerous investors have phoned me up who have come into the market in a really big way, who did it because they made a lot of money on Kaminak. And they saw John Robbins, they had faith in him, they saw another Yukon story, and they saw a promising story, and they had faith that the management would execute, right? There's no project so good that bad management can't screw it up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So to an investor, you really, you want to look for those good management teams and try to steer clear of the bad ones. And someone who you've had success with in the past has seemed to do everything right. That's a really good place to start.
So then because like Ross River is such a small community, how important is a project of this magnitude to a community like Ross River?
Well, you consider that the average employment figures for this project over the 18-year mine life plus construction would be more than every person in Ross River.
Wow.
Right? So suffice to say, it can be a massive shift in the employment levels for a community like that. And it's not just something that's a 5-year mine life or something like that. There's no opportunity to build real skills in the community. And one of the things that's exciting about a project like this is, 18 to 20 years, you can build a real career over that.
So far the community, I take it's been very supportive of Fireweed Inc., yourself, and obviously the company's endeavors. How important is that to you and Fireweed Inc. to have that communal support, call it?
Oh, I think it's vital.
Yeah.
I think the modern era of mining has now well established that if the community doesn't want you, if it's not impossible, it is nearly impossible to get your project done.
So for those that don't know, you started, I guess, your undergrad initially in chemistry.
Yep.
And then you quickly changed over to geology, I understand.
Yep.
So was there a mishap in the chem lab that led to that career change? Or not the career change, but the major
There was
change?
a couple of things. There was me not wanting to be in chemistry anymore, and also at the time I was doing summer work in mining exploration anyways. Okay. So I was like, maybe I should do geology. But yeah, there was a couple incidents. I had this one girl who sat next to me, or at the bench next to me in the organic chemistry lab, who it seemed like every couple of weeks was doing something to injure me. She spilled concentrated nitric acid on me, which really, not surprisingly, really does a number on your skin. She was trying to empty the mercury, or she forgot to empty the mercury out of the arms of the manometer before opening it, and sprayed me with mercury. And then another one of the pressurized systems she didn't have right, and one of the tubes was swelling, getting ready to explode, and send glass everywhere. And I just, at that point, it's like I had gotten a taste of working outdoors, and I seemed to be like a magnet for destruction in the lab. So that was it. I was done. I switched to geology.
I was going to say, maybe she's the one that should have changed degrees.
Yeah, maybe, right?
Obviously, you have a very strong technical background, but also, and I think this is quite rare, you're very capital market savvy. Again, that's a rare combination. A number of geos don't quite understand the capital market side of things. Why do you think that is?
I think it's because a geo who really wants to be an excellent geo, I think almost can sometimes try to insulate themselves from the capital markets, right? It's almost as a defense mechanism to the cruel reality of them. And so it's not often that you can have that technical knowledge, but then also be capital market savvy, right? And I was quite lucky to have been both a field geologist and really been, almost born into the industry. My first job as a soil sampler was 15.
Oh, wow.
But then actually get time as, a banker at a big, mining focused group in a mining focused bank, right? So that was, it was a bit of a rare exposure. And it's very hard to engineer that exposure if you set out to try.
So what's the more difficult job, that of a CEO or that of a father?
Geez, being a father, he has been relatively easy because he's been a very easy kid.
Yeah.
I see parents with, colic babies or challenging babies or something like that. He is super chill, and my wife is absolutely excellent. So
brownie points.
Yeah, there we go. Right. So it's given me the freedom to do what I do. And my wife, we made the decision. We went basically all in on Fireweed when we launched it, and we made that decision when she was 6 months pregnant. And
wow, gutsy.
Yeah, because an opportunity like this doesn't come along very often.
I want to ask you a series of questions, one-word answers only.
Okay.
How would you describe Brandon Macdonald?
Resilient.
Okay. How would you describe, in one word, Ross River, Yukon?
Optimistic.
Okay. And then one word answer, the role of a CEO.
Suffering.
How would you describe the current state of the junior mining market?
Painful.
How would you describe John Robbins?
Pragmatic.
A couple of years ago at the University of Oxford, which you attended, you received your MBA at Oxford, right?
Yep.
Was named the best university in the world. What was that experience like, going to Oxford? And did that open doors for you?
That experience is extremely interesting. The traditions that exist to this day that have no purpose other than tradition, like you write your exam in a dark suit with a white bow tie and a cape because
really? Actually?
Yeah, because it's called subfusc.
Okay.
Latin for under dreary. It's meant so that your appearance is not distracting to the people around you, right? Okay. So that's one of the traditions. There's the college dinners. You got to have your port. You got to have your sherry and stuff like that. I rowed on my college's rowing team because that seemed like the thing to do. It was extremely interesting to see that world and feel like enough of the history has been preserved that you're kind of living a little bit in the history. And then in terms of opening doors, Oxford's business school is relatively young, and it's up and coming, but that Oxford name carries so much cachet. To the point that sometimes I would be evasive about it, because you didn't want, like, I'm a firm believer you under promise and over deliver, and sometimes when you say something like that, people's expectations go through the roof.
Okay, so you've been described to me as a optimistic and very involved CEO. Okay, do you ever think that works against you though? Yeah,
because two things. Being optimistic, I am. I think you'll go insane in this industry if you're not an optimist.
Yeah.
Right? It will crush you if you don't have some naturally positive disposition. But you got to be conscious that you're drinking your own Kool-Aid, right? And the deeper you are, the more you're drinking it. and that's okay. Sometimes it makes you a really effective salesman, right? Because you're saying it like you mean it. But you just got to be aware when that Kool-Aid's intoxicating you into bad decisions, because you just think, oh, there's no way this project can have anything wrong with it. So you just start being overconfident. You need that confidence. You need enough so that you can execute, so that you don't have analysis paralysis. But you need to not have so much that you feel your word is like that all your decisions are infallible.
Brandon, thank you very much for having us. We appreciate it. We enjoyed your experience here up at the Fireweed Zinc's Macmillan Pass project.
Yeah, thanks a lot for coming out. I know it's a long journey.